Hey, and welcome to That Horror Game Podcast. We've decided on the name.
Wait, what? What is it called?
That Horror Game Podcast. You didn't know? Have you even watched the video?
No.
No?
Because, my voice is in it.
I feel you. So I'm trying my hardest, and if you guys are listening to this on SoundCloud, then awesome. It worked. If not, I am desperately trying to get this to work on SoundCloud. I've already uploaded the first episode, but I'm going to try and make it available on iTunes and Stitcher and all that good stuff. So anyway, enough of that. Let's go ahead and move on to horror game news. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Rachel's ready.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, we've got Overkill's Walking Dead game has been delayed to 2017. The game's supposed to be a co-op shooter that looks pretty similar to Zombie U, and based on the gameplay footage that I've seen, at least, a lot of it on there is just. I honestly, good on them. Delay that. Try to make that a little bit, look a little bit better. It's really not jumping out at me right now, especially when you're competing with other Walking Dead games like, Walking Dead Season 1, which is pretty good, mm-hmm. pretty good. Do you like The Walking Dead, Rachel? All right. So Rise of the Tomb Raider's new DLC, Baba Yaga, the Temple of the Witch, is out now. I know that you're very interested in the new Tomb Raider.
No, I'm not.
She hates it.
No, I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
She got really grossed out when we watched some of the QuickTime event failures. Ooh boy,
yeah,
those are.
It was hard to watch, and so I lost interest in it entirely. But I don't hate it.
Okay, so game developer Dreadlocks has announced a new game. You're gonna like this, or I don't know about you. My mom's gonna like this. It's called Ghost Theory. And it's on Kickstarter, and you can go and donate now. But Ghost Theory lets you explore real haunted locations. They're really haunted. In real life, they're really haunted. They're just transferring that into a game via ones and zeros. So it emphasizes real haunted locations and real ghost hunting techniques, such as giving you a EVP recorder, UV light, camera, and a pendulum and holy water. It's interesting because the Kickstarter is emphasizing VR, so they're trying to put you.
Oh my god!
In the feet, in the shoes of the ghost hunters. My mom's a ghost hunter, so she would get a kick out of that. Yeah, she dresses up and everything. It's hilarious.
I don't know if she'd get a kick out of it. Your mom does the real deal. She hunts real ghosts. This is just a fake. This is an imitation of what your mom does.
True.
So
this one you might actually, I know I've been kidding, but you might actually be seriously interested in this. Umbrella Corps is a Resident Evil multiplayer shooter. It got a new trailer and release info. It's releasing this May in 2016. I emphasize this. I didn't need to say that. I'm getting better at this podcasting thing, you guys. So it's going to be $29.99 USD, and it's going to be on the PlayStation 4 and the PC. And I'm just going to be honest. It looks like Call of Duty invaded Resident Evil 4. And I'm pretty sure Call of Duty already has zombie mode anyway, so it looks really generic. Resident Evil just said, you know what, fuck it, let's not do the whole gore horror shit. Let's just get away from the tentacle monsters and all the weird stuff like that, and let's just have dudes shooting zombies, because that's what we really want. And hey, it might work for them. It really honestly might work for them. And, if they can get in on some of that fucking Call of Duty money, all the better.
That's a good point.
So, yeah. Anyways, last piece of news. Rachel, have you heard of Five Nights at Freddy's?
That sounds familiar.
Familiar? Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
It's popular enough to be, like around. You kind of know it even if you haven't played it.
I think the reason why it sounds familiar is because I've seen the icon on your desktop.
Oh, well.
For a really long time.
Yeah, I've got Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, and I think 3.
Oh, wait, this is Five Nights. Okay, for some reason I heard Five Guys. No.
Five Guys at Freddy's.
That's a fast food joint.
No, yeah, that's the new Five Nights game. That's the guy partnered with Five Guys. And
that's cool.
Yeah, you get to play 5 guys dressed in suits who get attacked by Freddy Fastbender. That's his name.
Who?
It's not Fastbear, it's Fastbender.
Michael Fassbender?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What does he have to do with anything?
We're getting wildly off track. I was making a joke. It didn't work. Anyway, so you're going to love this.
Okay.
Five Nights at Freddy's is it's sort of like a weird... It's interesting. It's unique. It focuses entirely on jump scares. I tried to play it because Casey Green bought me some of the games, and I tried, but it's like too much for me. Like it's almost entire... The whole gimmick is you play a person who works at this sort of like Chuck E. Cheese, but the mechanical robots, like the band for Chuck E. Cheese, the Chuck E. Cheese and the Chuck E. Cheese band, like they become possessed or they have lives of their own, and they like actually get up and run around at night. And so it's kind of like you're stuck in this room where it's like a control room. And you can shut doors, you can lock doors, you have to, there's one in, I think it's in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, where you have to turn a little crank like a music box to soothe like some of the monsters so that they don't jump you. It's done in first person, and if you do it wrong, or if you don't like do everything 100% right, there's a whole bunch of little mechanics that go along with it, but if you don't do it right, you get jump scared. Something flies out and jumps at you. And it's nerve-wracking to say the least. Anyway, that was a very long walk to get to Five Nights at Freddy World. Five Nights at Freddy's World, my bad. Which is an RPG take on Five Nights at Freddy's. It was taken off Steam by the developer Scott Cawthon because he was, quote, not satisfied with the reviews and ratings it was getting. This was despite its very positive Steam rating. Apparently there were some issues with basic RPG elements in the game, like accurately explaining the battle system in the notes in the game, and what specific abilities actually do, as well as overworld complaints, mainly that the overworld is in 2D and the sprites are like really low res. I was reading some of the complaints about the game, and that was a really common one. The guy Cawthon took sprites, imported them into the game, and then screen capped them, exported them, enlarged them in Photoshop, and just caused like all sorts of crazy artifacting and shit. It's really weird. But yeah, he took it off Steam, which is like good on him, If it's not up to his standards, then by all means take that down, And he issued why am I blanking on the word? You get your money back if you bought it. So he gave everyone their money back. He contacted Steam, Valve directly, and said it doesn't matter how long, if they had it for like however long it was. Steam usually doesn't give. Why am I blanking on the word? Returns. Refunds. Oh my god! I knew it began with re. Damn it. Steam usually doesn't give refunds if the person has owned the game for more than, I think it's a week. Week might be 2 weeks, and the game was out for longer than that. And so Scott contacted the Valve and was like, "Give them refunds. This is I don't feel comfortable with this." Which good on the guy. Throughout the entirety of whatever you think about Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott has been pretty darn legit about the whole thing, and while he's definitely trying to make money, he seems to legitimately care, which is great, fantastic.
So did everyone who bought it get issued a refund, even if maybe they didn't?
Yes, everyone. If you go and ask for a refund, you will get it. Not everyone is returning it, though. I think that...
Yeah, that's what I meant.
I think that he's going to release it on another platform, which escapes me now. That being said, why did he put it out in that shape? Like,
maybe because he thought he could.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's pointless to sort of worry about why he did that. Just as long as he, tries to correct the mistake.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so we're moving on to a new feature, community chat back. It might not keep that name. I think it's pretty stupid. But then again, I think everything I do is stupid. So,
no,
hey.
I didn't think the name was stupid. I'm scared.
Oh, okay. Well, don't be too scared. The only thing you have to worry about is that we are wrong. We are so wrong.
About what? I'm scared.
Do you remember the Oh Death song?
From Death?
Oh,
sorry.
Death.
Sorry, I can't not. If you say Oh Death, I have to sing it.
Well, guess what?
What?
We're wrong.
About what?
About it being a bad song.
No. No.
I play around, but there was a lot of feedback on the first episode of this, and people, no one agreed with us.
About that song?
Yes. If they did agree with us, they certainly didn't say anything. Because 50% of the comments on that video are, y'all suck, because we love that song. And look, man, here, I think this is the reason why. Gaydona on YouTube wrote to let us know that the Oh Death song is, quote, an Appalachian folk hymn. No one involved in that version of the song wrote it. They just arranged and dicked around with the melody. So I was told by multiple people that the song is heard on the Oh Brother Where Art Thou soundtrack, which is insane to me because that's one of my favorite movies, and my father bought the soundtrack and listened to it pretty much every single day. I'm at a loss for why I missed that.
Well, is it because Kaydona said that because I grew up in West Virginia. I was actually in a bluegrass band, so to speak.
Talk about it.
For years. So we played a lot of, I've never heard of the song. I did have the movie, Oh Brother Where Art Thou? And that person, Kaydona, said that the melody or whatever was changed. Yeah. Right? So maybe that's why.
They quote dicked around with the melody.
That's not enough for me to. I'm not gonna say, oh, it was in that movie. Oh, that, okay, I changed my opinion. No, it sucked dick enough for me to mock it. Oh, death is stupid. Oh, that's stupid.
Well, I think the reason why a lot of people like it is because, and I'm not trying to bring it up and be like, hey,
your opinion
you're wrong.
Is dumb. It's just, why do you like it?
I think here's the reason.
I don't want to know. No, go ahead. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I think it's because people have history with it. It's we wouldn't generally enjoy some Christmas songs as much as we do, but since we have the history with them, and we know them from our childhood, or we know them from some point in our life, we've sort of attached some sort of feeling to them. And, no matter what incarnation they have, they always mean something. No matter how stupid the lyrics are to White Christmas, it always means something to me. It always conjures something in my head, and I like it because of that. So, if you like it, we just have different opinions, and that's cool. That's great. Not everyone is supposed to have the same opinions. Oh, Rachel's rolling her eyes.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not rolling my eyes. I don't want to get into a whole, it's a song that I thought was stupid. I still think it's stupid. But if you like it, do you.
And hey, it may be the best incarnation of that song, which is cool, but at the same time, it doesn't carry the weight. It was I hesitate to criticize it now.
It seemed bad because of the context. We're playing, essentially, or watching a teen horror movie. And when that song comes up, I'm not getting a sense of a teen horror movie.
Yeah, man. Next time, Until Dawn 2, change that shit. Make it get Linkin Park in. Let's get Linkin Park. Let's get Disturbed. Okay. We need a Linkin Park version. Linkin Park meets Disturbed version of Oh Death.
No, I don't know about Linkin Park and Disturbed. I don't think people listen to them anymore.
Oh no? What about Korn?
No, this is no. This is
Work for Silent Hill Downpour.
When we were teens. Teens now listen. You need a little bit of Little Kim, being Little Kim at the beginning of that game. Like, I'm not even gonna start trying to impersonate Little Kim.
Yeah, we've talked about this.
That's not happening.
We talked about this for long enough. Suffice it to say, people like that song.
Grats.
Bye.
Next. All right. Oh, Def.
Next up is horror game preview. Are you excited? Yeah. I'm excited to show it to you.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh yeah. See you in a bit. Hey, welcome back, and we are going to preview a upcoming horror game, and this time we are doing Visage, a new game by, I actually don't know their names, let me look it up, Sad Square Studio, and we're previewing this because it really piqued my interest on Twitter a little while ago, because normally I'm on the lookout for PT-esque games, mainly because most of them have been done terribly, and they make me laugh. Check out Silent Nights. I mean, that game is it's straight a rip-off of PT. They rip elements, they rip audio files. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Visage, which looks... That's the first thing that struck me about this game. It looks amazing. It really looks like they spent a lot of time on the visuals. And one of the things that PT did well was doing photorealistic graphics. And man, I mean, the visuals in Visage are they're really like. See, the thing about PT was that it was just one hallway. And a lot of the imitators, what they've been trying to do is expand that concept of the repeating room to a full house. And by that I mean introduce Bob Saget into the games.
Nice.
You're welcome. But Visage they're sort of applying that, but there was no looping that I saw. It was mostly walking around a house and interacting with stuff, typical stuff. But it seems like they've also they figured out like sort of a path for the player to walk and natural sort of scares that will happen. I don't know if they're accounting for multiple ways of playing through the game. I would hope they would, but I mean PT didn't do that, so hey, whatever works. But the thing that's sort of making them different is they are applying a stress level to the game. And they allow it's a first person game that sort of pays homage to not only PT but Amnesia, and they let you sort of open doors the way that you do in Amnesia, which I love that. I love that. It's so nice to be able to open doors. There's just something about it that I love. Anyway, but they're doing that. The visuals are amazing. There's so much attention to detail. There are spirits that sort of haunt you and come after you. In the trailer that we just watched, something was messing with us. We didn't really figure out how. But they also seem to, the developer Sad Square seemed to have incorporated some interesting Silent Hill-esque scenarios, like going into a very Silent Hill evocative, like Silent Hill 1 sort of blood, rust, metal sort of, aesthetic in one of their levels. And it was interesting to see them go that far, because PT did a lot, but it never really went there. You do have the Red Hallway, which is like fun and weird and wacky in its own way, but it was still just a variation of the hallway, which, they tethered themselves to, but it was never like really super gritty detailed, It looked amazing, don't get me wrong, but yeah, Visage seems to want to explore that concept a little bit more. And I mean, the other thing about Visage is it's a Kickstarter for almost $25,000, which really doesn't seem like that much. They're already at $6,000, And for a game like this that looks really nice, I mean, I think I'm gonna pitch in. It really looks nice. The only other thing that I would say is that it looks like it's kind of done. But we watched the trailer. What'd you think, babe?
Well, I was
freaking out the entire time.
Yeah, I was tense because it looked like PT. And totally looked like PT and looked like PT, so I was waiting for Lisa to come at me and get me.
Listeners, I'm gonna hit you up with some insider info. The entire time I was playing PT, I generally had Rachel by my side, and we were working together on trying to figure out how the hell you solved that final puzzle.
Yeah,
because it was hit or miss for us for a long time, and after a certain point, she had to cut and run because it was messing with her so much. It did.
It messed
with me. She had
nightmares. Yeah, it messed with me for it was like 2 or 3 months.
Like, that's a good horror game.
Yeah, it's interesting because I will like recommend it to people. You know, you need to play this because it's like, you know, good and scary. But about this, I don't know, because it looks good.
But there's
like
always,
Unreal Engine good.
Yeah, but there's always that problem with these types of games because they really, when all is said and done, they're clones. They're straight up rips of PT, or at least some of the elements of PT, which is why, Allison Road, which is another PT-inspired game. It looks nice, but at the end of the day, I can tell it doesn't have the story going for it. I can tell that they're trying to do things that they can't do. Like, PT was what it was because it was a teaser for a game, and it teased that game in such a cool, interesting way through a really complicated puzzle. And it had a lot going for it because of that. And Kojima was attached, and Del Toro was attached, and Reedus was attached. So it had a lot of oomph to it. It had a lot of backing behind it. Whereas Allison Road, who wants to play PT again? You know, we already have PT.
But what about this?
But this one looks like they're trying to take that and sort of apply it, give it a sort of amnesia spin, and maybe add some interesting elements to it. Maybe it says interacting with dark spirits. I don't really know what that means, but it shows promise.
You could have said the same thing about PT. I'm not trying to like dog the developers, but as I scroll down the Kickstarter page and I see straight up like these scenes that I saw several times in PT.
Guys, you should definitely go to the Kickstarter and just check it out, because one of the little images in here is the counter from PT, except with different pictures in it. It's like straight up like PT, not a knockoff, or maybe it is a knockoff.
No, it is. And look at this. The silhouetted lady in the, and so, when you imitate like that and you don't know why, you just steal those elements, then I have to question whether whether the game's going to be good, because I have to question whether you know what you're doing. Yeah, it looks good. And it was scary because it was a creepy looking house that was dark and was making noises. Okay, yeah.
And the visuals were really great. Photorealistic stuff.
But
at the end of the day, that's why we do the previews. It's something to look out for. I would definitely keep my eyes on this, just because it looks good.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that, but it looks so good.
Like, you mean visually?
Visually.
Okay.
Like, I love story in games. That's one of the reasons why I loved PT so much. I love story in games, and I also love story out of games, because that's what PT does. They just sort of rip out their story and let you piece it together. I really didn't need to explain that joke. wasn't even a joke. Oh my god, I need to stop. But yeah, Visage does not have that. It just straight up, it just has you walking around a house. And, it remains to be seen if we're going to have some interesting story going on here, but for right now, I'm not seeing any. Which means that, it could be, a hollow project. And, but I'm still, like, graphics, man. They look really, really nice. So, anyway, but yeah, check it out. Look at it for yourself. I mean, it seems like we're going to get it. They're already, a fifth of the way there? And they've got 39 days to go. I think they're going to hit it. They want to get more than that, but they want to get more than 25K, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. I guess time will tell.
I don't know, because look at how many backers they have. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, if you hold on, because
she's scrolling down the page.
Yeah, you get the games. So if you pledge 15 or more, which makes me think that if you pay 15, that like when it's out, that you'll get it for 15.
It looks pretty solid for 15.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would mind putting 15 on it, or I wouldn't mind you putting 15 on it and you playing and me watching with my hands over my eyes most of the time. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's it. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
So that's Visage. Check it out. Maybe give them some money. Maybe not. Depends. It's got the look down pretty damn nice. But yeah, okay. On to the next review.
Dun, dun, dun.
Hey, welcome back. And for this episode, we are going to review a little game. And, not kidding around. Takes about, 4 hours to beat. Mm-hmm. This game's called Oxenfree. Now, first thing we're going to say is this is going to be a spoiler-free review of the game. The mistake we made last time with the last podcast is that we just launched straight into spoiler territory. Mm-hmm. Which we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to divide up these reviews into the first part, non-spoiler. Do we want to recommend it or do we not? What kind of score do we want to give it? And then afterwards, we're going to get into spoiler territory and talk specifically about the nuances with the game, which there are a few here and there. So for the first part, let's go ahead and Oxenfree. What is it?
It is a game with, I guess you would call it a side-scrolling-esque sort of, 2D,
2D side-scroller. Yeah, totally.
Environment where in it you play a girl named Alex.
Correct.
Who is, hanging out with her best friend at some sort of island. Mm-hmm. And she brings her stepbrother.
Her new stepbrother. And her friend Ren brings his crush, whose name is Nona, I think. Well,
and then
Clarissa brought Nona. Oh wait, no. No. You're right.
You ruined it.
You're right.
Nona brought Clarissa.
That's true.
Anyway,
well, Ren invited Nona, and Nona.
That's what Anyway, so Ren comes up with the bright idea of bringing. I think it's a radio that they played with his children.
Well, technically, Alex brought it, but yes.
And they take it into a cave, and then stuff happens. Stuff and things happen.
Stuff and things are always happening.
For hours.
Oh my God.
You know what? Thinking about it, until dawn.
Yep.
Stuff happens until dawn.
They actually do say until dawn.
Yeah, they do. That's
and
nuts.
the beginning of every chapter is the time, and then it's
yeah, that's right. And
dawn.
it's a bunch of teenagers being all teenagerish.
Yeah, there was a funny joke. Oh wait, no, non-spoiler. Won't spoil the joke.
Yeah, don't spoil the joke, bro.
My bad. So I'm just gonna come right out and say it.
It sucked. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, go ahead.
Did it suck?
No. I was just wanting to interrupt you because
Because I kept okay.
No,
because I'm a jerk and you wanted to.
No, actually, no. I forgot that you even did that. We're cool, bro.
I will recommend this game. I will tell anyone listening, this is definitely worth the $20 that they're asking for.
Sorry, I shut my throat.
You made a face. You made a face.
Listen, I didn't know it was $20. That's
how much did you think it was?
Like 10. 10. Ooh, go on.
I'm just gonna double check here for a second. Hold on, listeners. Rachel, occupy them while I look up exactly how much Oxenfree costs. I'm pretty sure it's 20.
I'm about to sing your favorite song.
Okay, it's 20. You don't have to.
Okay.
Yep, it's totally 20. So you thought it was 10.
Yeah.
So would you say that it's worth 20?
I assumed. No. No, I don't think it's worth 20.
How much do you think it's worth?
I do think it's worth 10.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, though.
I just didn't realize. I think it's worth 20. For the story that you get, for the characters that you're introduced to, I think it's worth it. And in terms of, I won't give it a rating. I will just say it's worth your time, and it's not much of your time, So give it a shot. I think the only complaints that I would have are maybe wait until a patch comes out, because I played it and I didn't have any problems. But when Rachel and I played, we had quite a few issues. You want to talk about those?
Well, it was just I ran into a couple of bugs, and which were, okay, a game is gonna come with bugs. There's nothing you can really do about it.
Right.
But in this particular game, it was annoying because of the play style, and I think I can say kind of, it's just that you do a lot of backtracking and a slow walking, which seemed buggy too, because there were some times where my character would run, and then there were some times where my character would not run and would just walk, and so if I had to restart the game, it was just a very long, drawn out process. On top of that, an amazing amount of typos. I did not like the what's the word? Subtitles. I didn't like the job they did on it. There's an amazing amount of typos. There's a lot of asterisk use, so that it made reading it annoying.
I will confirm there is liberal use of asterisks.
Yeah. And ellipses. And yeah. Yeah.
But all in all, I think it was a nice little romp. I think that it's a 2D side scroller, so you can't really expect too much from it. But for what it was, I think that one of the big things about it is you have a radio, and that's the big sort of gameplay mechanic where you're tuning into these various stations and listening to messages, a la Silent Hill or PT, I guess, listening to messages on the radio. And there's a lot to do, so much so that we played it twice and we still haven't gotten everything. But we'll talk about the specifics in the spoiler section. So, but suffice it to say, the story was interesting. I think that it was told interestingly. I think that I hesitate to say that it's similar to the Walking Dead games, because those games emphasize the decisions that you make over the dialogue, whereas Oxenfree is pure dialogue. It is constantly hammering you with dialogue options, and not all of them actually matter. I mean, some of them are just like, hey, what do you want to do right now? It doesn't affect anything. It's just a matter of whether you're making small talk or not, really. But the act of small talk introduces you to the characters' backgrounds and what they're feeling and all these different things, and it's interesting. I like it. I like walking around and looking for the radio signals. That was fun. I'd recommend it.
I recommend it, not for $20. I don't.
This is gonna be a thing, isn't it? We're gonna be friggin' bartering on a. I'll give you $12 for that game.
Listen, it was a game. It was another game full of dialogue. That's a month of HBO, and then I could listen to all the goddamn dialogue I want to listen to for a month. Whereas this game is like 4 hours. So no, I don't think it's worth $20. I like the story and I enjoyed it and I would recommend it and I don't think it's a waste of time, but there were elements in it that annoyed me. God, I feel like in the podcast that we do, it's going to be like, you're like, no, man, this is like, like you got positive vibes, and I'm over here like Grouchy McGrouch, like pin picking all this stupid, silly crap. But
no, I think that that's warranted in this situation because I was playing with you, and I must admit that when you were having so many issues, I got kind of frustrated myself because they were preventing you from sort of seeing like. They were preventing you from having the experience I had, which was legitimately nice. I played the game all through the night, and I just it hit something, and it didn't affect me in an amazing way. It didn't like bowl me over like freaking Walking Dead season 1 did. Oh my god! But it was just nice. It was just nice, and not every game has to be this emotional roller coaster. And that's what I like about indie games. They try different stuff. But at the same time, it didn't really hit you. But you'll realize that when you play it for yourself, which I would recommend that you do. Rachel, she's nodding her head.
I would recommend getting it, I don't know if they're going to patch it or not.
I would hope so. The issue that we ran into was specifically... Jonas, in one section, you went up to investigate this area to get one of the there are these little piles of rocks that they have in the game where if you tune your radio to them, they will unlock hidden messages, and they're like, that's one of the collectibles.
Regardless, he got stuck
climbing, and then you were trying to take some sort of a ferry or something, and the event needed Jonas to be there. Mm-hmm. And because Jonas got stuck climbing, he never came down, and when you hit the button to go over, the game was trying to path Jonas to you, but he was stuck, so it was caught. You got caught.
Yeah,
and you had to restart.
I had to restart, and it was a pain because, you just spend a lot of time doing what I would call mindless movement. Just, it's empty and it has no purpose. It was just travel, and which prevented me from wanting to get all the other clues that would unravel the whole story, because I was interested, but the idea of like having to walk through all these zones and like walk through the whole zone just to do it was just unappealing.
Yeah, it's hard because it's a game. You want entertainment from it, but sometimes doing that sort of stuff you have to in order to move physically, and it just becomes a chore. Yeah. And yeah, I totally agree. There are lots of moments in the game where it's just like mindless movement, though I will say that mindless sort of action that's required of you does have a very badass backing soundtrack. This is some good stuff. Like, check out the soundtrack. You will not be disappointed. I'm enamored with it. I actually am kicking myself for not getting the soundtrack bundle on Steam, which it does have. You can get the game Oxenfree with the Oxenfree soundtrack. The soundtrack is by Scientific. It's like an abbreviated version of Scientific, or I think it's a full name is Scientific American, but he just abbreviated Scientific. So anyway, he's also got a SoundCloud thing, so check that out. But yeah, it's got some really good stuff in there. So let's wrap this up and move on to the spoiler thing. If you do not want to be spoiled, get out right now. Any last words?
Nope.
No? Mm-mm. Okay. That's it. Okay. Onward and upward. Oxenfree, $20. Mm-hmm. Steam, PC, PS4. I think it's on Mac and Xbox. So check it out. Alright, and we're back, and we are going to preface this again. Please, if you do not want to be spoiled on Oxenfree, get out now. This is your last chance. Alright, Oxenfree. So there's a lot going on. in terms of the dialogue. That's basically it. The story itself was interesting, but it wasn't. I mean, I mentioned this in the spoiler-free review, but it just didn't. It didn't have that oomph. It didn't really pick up. I expected it to pick up. I expected there to be something, not like a Silent Hill 2 M. Night Shyamalan plot twist, but like something for me to glom onto, something for me to really bite into. But that never happened, and that was kind of a disappointment. That being said, I really like how they handled death in the game. At the very beginning, you're sort of introduced to these characters and the fact that you've got a new stepbrother, and his mom died. Jonas, right?
Yeah, it's Jonas. I think I called him Josh earlier. I don't remember, but yeah, it's Jonas, I think.
Jonas. He has a mother who died, and Alex has a brother who died. And the way you realize this is through the dialogue options. You can realize early on because you're given that little option, like, oh, that's Alex. That's whatever his name. What was her brother's name? Forget. Anyway.
Mike.
Was it Mike?
I think, right? It was Mike.
Sure,
Michael?
let's just go with that.
I think it was Michael.
I think it was Michael, yeah. His sort of room, and then Jonah took that room, and it was like, hey, that's not your room. You know, those little things, those were nice. But the game really doesn't, like, none of the characters are, like, tormented or ripped apart by this stuff. They sort of just, I got the feeling that they're treating it very realistically. Like, death is just something that happens. It's something that happened to them.
Except for Clarissa. Clarissa was messed up by it. Definitely. And in her case, it didn't just happen. She blames Alex on it. Blames Alex for it.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, there was that scene where they're all sort of in front of the. I hesitate to say this, but I think it was a Silent Hill 2 reference where they had the open tunnel and then the lone car. That screams like the opening of Silent Hill 2 for me. But anyway, like Silent Hill 2 has like a trademark on friggin' tunnels and cars. Anyways, but yeah, they're in front of that, and they had the little fireplace, the fire, and Clarissa was just ripping into Alex, and it was awkward. Like, I get what they were trying to do, but Clarissa at that point was just like, I think that they were going over their. They were trying really, really hard to make Clarissa a bad person, but at the end of the game, they do a very Walking Dead style 70% of people chose this option, 70% of people saved Clarissa, and in the game you are allowed to just straight up ditch Clarissa in the friggin' dead zone.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap, that's cold-blooded. And it's weird to me because those types of options, well, first off, the quote, you like X% of players did Y things. It's really weird, and it kind of diminished the endings for me. Like, it feels really weirdly leaderboardy, and also the vast majority of people did the same things that we did, so it really was just kind of pointless. Because, oh, yeah, great, I go to the end and I see that 70% of people, I think it was like 70 or 75% of people, like, got Ren and Nona together. Yeah. Like, why do we need to know that? Like, why can't we just not have that pie chart? Like, you show a pie chart. Yeah. That's weird. I don't like that. And I think that when Walking Dead did it, they did it mostly for the trailers and saved it for, like, the after credits stuff. But this game puts it right after one of the main moments and before the credits, and it was just kind of disorienting. Anyways, that being said, it dealt with death in a very interesting and unique way that I have not seen many games do. Most games, when you have death, someone's tormented by it. Someone's like, classic example is Silent Hill 2. His wife died, and he doesn't know. I'm not going to spoil it, but his wife dies, and you can tell that it's like ripped him apart. It's shredded him. And that is realistic, But a lot of games do that. A lot of games and a lot of stories are about death and how death ripped people apart, changes them. But not many games that I've played have done something like Oxenfree, where they're sort of realistically taking a look at death and really just addressing death as something that happens. Anyway, I mentioned that like twice already. Okay, well, what do you think about the backstory, the sort of, or the underlying story of the nuclear submarine and the people that died on it? And it's basically a ghost story. Mm-hmm. Did you have any thoughts on that?
Sort of. I guess. I'm confused. And towards the end, they take just like one small sliver of time and just like tell you what's going on and who these people are that are, I don't even know what they're doing, keeping you on the island, like haunting you.
They're trying to keep you I know they on the island because they want to. Yeah, it's like body snatching, you know.
So it's the dead people from the submarine, right?
Yes, I'm on my playthrough. I did something weird where at the very end, I talked to the big bad guy, and you occasionally see him, the two red eyes, and the head, and he was in a bunch of the pictures. I talked to him and I called him out by his name. I actually, said, hey, and I actually talked to him instead of tuning from the other side. I just straight up talked to him, and I got him to back off, which was interesting. Though the ending, and that's another thing that we can talk about, the endings really don't change. Like they say that there are a bunch of ways that you can go, but I mean, really, it's just a matter of whether Clarissa gets out of Dodge or whether Nona and Ren get together. But I have yet to see one ending where Nona and Ren do not get together. But the big thing is Clarissa, and if you sacrifice her, the characters will just be like, oh, who's Clarissa? I don't know that person. And, that's the big, reveal. But basically everything else is the same. It's just you don't have Clarissa in the background going like, oh, let's go dress shopping for prom. That whole thing. And she seems to have forgiven Alex at the end of that one, so that's nice. But yeah, I forgot what I was originally going to say. Oh yeah, the big bad guy. Yeah, I want to say that there are the ghosts, and they have somehow sort of tapped into the radio station on the island, which at the very beginning you're sort of told that, oh, there's this really crazy radio station, a radio emitter, and it's like it can beam messages across the world in like a matter of seconds. And apparently that's supposed to hint at you that it's really, really powerful, and that it because it's so powerful, weird shit might happen. I don't know, it'll tune into ghosts. But it's a very common thing with, ghosts and detecting, signals in audio, we were talking about that game that's sort of taking a look at realistic ghost hunting. That's one of the things, that's a classic tool that a ghost hunter has, is a tape recorder and, measuring radio signals and all that good stuff. But on the island, apparently there was some military testing, and the ship sunk. It was like a nuclear submarine, and something happened. I guess maybe there was an explosion? I don't know. But it somehow ejected one particular ghost. There were the voices of all those people, but apparently there was one just big bad that wanted up in your guts, and and that guy, you can actually talk to him and reason with him at the end, and it was interesting. So I hesitate to say that it was all of the dead people who wanted your body, who wanted Clarissa's body. They wanted yours too. You get possessed, and and that's the whole point of the puzzles and stuff. They actually the ghosts mention that there is a reason for the puzzles, and I think that reason is because the longer that you're there, the longer you stay, the more open your body becomes to being possessed by these things. And that's certainly highlighted by the ending when so many people are constantly blacking out. The thing that wasn't explained, though, is the time manipulation stuff. I get the ghosts, I get that, but I guess there was a rip in the time-space continuum or something, and I was trying to figure out if it was parallel dimensions that they were talking about, or if it was legit time travel. It really can be a toss-up, and at certain points it definitely seems like parallel dimensions, because of the flashbacks that Alex has with her brother. And you can still interact with your brother and say new stuff that you would not have said in the past. You're misremembering it. And that makes me think it's like you're going back in time and you're allowed to mess with it, but then you're allowed to come forward without any repercussions for that. But then there's the whole looping thing. And it's like, is that the same thing, or is that
it isn't. Because at the end, it seems like the ending is that you're actually looping.
Yes. Yep. The ending. And I don't know if that's just like a gameplay thing where they wanted to be cute and be like, oh, if you want to replay, it turns out that your replay is canonical because you're replaying everything over again. And just like when you looped. So they're just saying, oh, I don't know if that was just one person's idea for the very end to be like, it would be fucking cute. That's
the vibe I got, because you had played first and then I played, and there was something about it when I first started playing that I can't remember what it is now that made me think that it was like some sort of signifier that you had already played. I can't remember what it is now, but that does make sense that they would do that. Yeah. Because they explain when Alex says what's happening, it makes you think this is post-trip.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't remember, but then it just loops and then the game ends.
Mm.
There's she says something and then that, oh, wait a minute, what? Okay. But I mean, as far as the story goes, I guess technically then it's just they don't go on.
Mm-mm.
It just loops over and over
again. Which is weird because at the end, Alex specifically mentions that she hasn't forgot about that night, and she makes it sound like it's been quite a while.
Yeah.
But then shit happens, and then she loops. So it seems like the loop isn't at the very end of the game. It's much later. She's about to move out of town. If you choose to move out of town, that's probably one of the things that changes. But she's about to, but then it screws up, and then you loop again. So, and yeah, I guess that's the tragedy of it. But I don't know. I think it would have been more impactful if they didn't have that quote unquote twist. It's cute. Don't get me wrong. It definitely makes playing the game over again feel more important. But at the end of the day, I think it really sort of undercut the plot for me. I think it made it seem like, oh well, all that stuff I did didn't matter. So because they're just looping, which I guess it works for that story. Death is something that you never really get over, and I guess maybe that's what they were saying. You always, part of you is always left in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is where the ghosts come from. But that's a classic thing with ghosts. There's this idea that you have such a strong emotional hold on this plane of existence that your spirit sort of hangs on. That's why they have a whole bunch of ghosts oh, the reason I'm here is because I want revenge, and the ghost goes out and stabs some dude. It's funny to see the differences between American and Japanese horror too in that regard. The Japanese ghosts are dicks. Oh my good lord. But they're straight up out for revenge. Ghosts in American horror generally they're they're trying to get someone to facilitate that action. But ghosts in Japanese horror they're just dicks. They just want to friggin' murder everyone. That was the whole thing with The Grudge. That was such a nice ending to that movie. That caught me off guard the first time I watched it. Anyways, no spoiler for that. I don't think I spoiled it. Anyways, suffice it to say, this was a nice little story. I complained a lot about it, but at the end of the day, I'm glad it's in my head. I'm glad I, thought about it. I'm glad I parsed some of the stuff out. If you're listening to this, definitely hit us up with what those Morse code messages were. We got a lot of those, and I don't know Morse code. So, hey, if anyone knows what those are, hit us up. There are a lot of hidden messages in the game, so it'd be good to know if anything that we said is wrong or incorrect. But for the most part, I think we did a good job. There is a wiki for this, but it really doesn't have much on it.
What were the things you could collect? Because I think I got 4 to 12.
Yeah, that you could collect the radio station, the radio signal, like sort of the rocks, those little things.
They had a name for it.
Yeah, it was like I forget the name. I don't want to make an ass out of myself and say that it's something that it isn't. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It was a little pile of rocks, and then you could tune there because some of the kids found like those. That was the whole point. The kids put the rocks where they could detect the signal. Which, like, holy shit, some kid is going all over the friggin' like area and looking for these things. That's crazy. Anyways, yeah, the other collectible were the notes from the lady who lived there. Forget her name.
Adler?
Yeah.
Something Adler?
Margaret Adler, I think.
Something like that.
Something like that. But yeah, that was the other collectible. The other collectible were photos. But those, you kind of naturally get those throughout the game. The kids will take pictures of themselves. So yeah, Oxenfree. Hit us up if you have any ideas on what the plot was. There really isn't that much online right now. I'm kind of surprised. Like, there's no explainer videos. There's no wiki that details the specifics of the plot. There's no. I mean, the only things that I've seen were little videos on YouTube where they show like the different endings. But there's really no one hardcore going through the game and looking for the story and piecing it together.
I wonder if that has to do with the gameplay.
Maybe. Yeah, it certainly is kind of a chore to play. I don't know. You got any other final thoughts?
Mine would all come off as negative.
That's fine. You can be negative.
You have the backtracking was annoying, and as I said, in the non-spoiler review that to do, it didn't help that my character wanted to walk most of the time. Like, she wanted to walk slow, and you're in each zone for a few minutes. It feels like forever because you're just watching these two characters because I was with Jonas throughout the whole game, and you're just watching them two walk through the zone. And so if you want to get to a zone all the way to the left, you have to get through 3 zones. So you're just and you're gonna be in silence a lot of the time. Well, depending on how far you get to a certain point in the game where it is silence.
Yeah, they run out of stuff to say after a certain point.
So if you want to go and get the collectibles, you're just doing all this walking in silence, walking through each zone to get to another. And I just didn't want to do it. I wanted to hear the radio signals, stations, whatever. But I did not have it in me. I did not have it in me to just do all of that walking.
See, that's the thing. That's why I'd recommend it, but I wouldn't put it on my top 20 horror games list. Because it's a good game, but at the same time, it doesn't inspire me to play it again like some other horror games have. Some horror games, I finished them and I had to play it over again to get to figure out what the story was. In Oxenfree, I get enough character development, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Not really that much, but
enough to
be satisfied.
Be familiar with the characters and to know their quirks and
yeah. Oh, and by the way, voice acting for the game, really good. I really liked it.
That's the other thing that irked me. This is a game full of dialogue. And by the way, there's a lot of walking. And this game is 4 to 5 hours, so. But, it's heavily focused on dialogue. It feels like there's way more dialogue in this game than in Until Dawn, which is double the length. That's how much dialogue there is. Because your character, can talk all the time in reaction to her friends.
Mm.
But you, a lot of the times, have to choose between letting your friends talk and then you speaking, which I absolutely hated. I hated it. I hated having the option to say something in response to my friends and then cutting them off. A lot of times for me, it didn't seem, their voice just cut off and then I interrupted them. And then you also have a timer. You have to choose what you want to say within a time limit. And so if you're kind of waiting for them to finish, then your timer runs out and you can't say anything. And this happened to me so much that I was getting frustrated.
I can attest to that.
It just seemed so weird. It was like a dialogue-centric game, but it kind of felt fumbled. And then, you have, and I could point about this in a non-spoiler review, but then you have the subtitles, which seemed like they were rushed. A lot of typos, a lot of fucking asterisks, a lot of ellipses, just it was just, I don't know, it was like...
It was strange. But, I wouldn't necessarily dock it points for having bad subtitles. But that's me. You're a writer. You're way more... That stuff can irk you way.
Would I dock a point for it? I don't think so, but if they're there because people might...
It makes it harder to read.
You can't even read it most of the time because these kids are speaking quick. And a lot of the time, there was like 2 lines of text. Like, these characters are just like rambling. So you're not even going to finish it if you rely only on the text anyway. But if you do, then you're just going to be visually annoyed. Yeah. And they would because asterisk is like a bold, or it's like an emphasis on a word. And so, but they would asterisk like a word that wasn't being emphasized vocally. I don't know. It didn't make sense because you had like this game that looked visually like really good and like they spent a lot of time on it, or that's the vibe I got. And then you just like had the text and then like the way, I don't know, and then the way they just kept cutting off the dialogue. I don't know.
I guess that sums it up.
And then
I don't know.
There were times, I don't know. I like to say I don't know because I don't know. And then there were times though that like they would be mid-sentence and you had the ability to say something in response to what they were saying and you would choose it and then it would wait until after that character was done before Alex said something. Yep. So for a moment, I thought it was buggy because most of the time it wasn't doing that. And so again, I'm at it. I don't know because I don't know if it was buggy or if they just for some weird reason had it to where sometimes it would wait and most of the time it wouldn't wait.
I think that was the case. I think that some of the conversations were deemed important enough to warrant you waiting.
Which meant like there was all of it, or not all of it, I'm sorry.
A lot of it.
A lot of it was just like small random. But see,
and that's the truth. A lot of it was.
There's an option in my playthrough where you at the beginning you're talking to Jonas and Jonas says something about Ren. I don't remember, but you have the option to say like, yeah, he's annoying. I chose that option, and then when Ren and Jonas are like freaking out in the tower and arguing at each other, like Jonas rats me out to Ren. He's like, yeah, no wonder she said you were annoying. Ren's like, what? She wouldn't say that, bro. And I was like, oh, fuck you, Jonas. What? Why would you do that? Which was really cool that they did that. And so, but, and I don't know if that option was, I don't remember if that option was timed or not. I want to say that it was, but just imagine like being able to miss out on that. There were a few times where also I would hit, one of the buttons to indicate which dialogue I wanted to hit. It would not hit it. It would hit something else. I swear on life. Yeah, I don't know. It felt buggy. Why you,
sorry.
Coughing. Stop coughing. I'm talking. It's fine. Anyway, and I don't know.
Anyways, but yeah, I stand by my decision to recommend it. It's not the best, but it's still worth the trip.
It did something interesting. It was original.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wish there was just more. I wish that the decisions meant more. I wish that they worked more with making the decisions not feel so rushed, I guess. Yeah. I was a fan of cutting off the commentary, because that happens in real life. You want to say something, sometimes you say it over the other person, and there are a lot of times in games where it's really unrealistic because characters will do the exact opposite, and they will not.
Oh, you mean like when a character is supposed to cut off another character, but then there's that gap until the audio clicks through. Yeah,
which happens in a lot of older games because the actual technology wouldn't allow them to do that.
Still happens in newer games like Dragon Age Inquisition. Yeah. It's funny because I was playing Witcher 3 and they actually did a much better job of that. But if I were around friends that interrupted me that goddamn much, I would not be hanging out with them.
Then again,
that doesn't actually mimic reality. I don't
to
think.
an extent, there should have been some of that, but not as much as there was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. Okay, I think that's we delved into a good deal. I mean, if someone puts out an explainer video, I'll definitely watch it, but I don't think I'm gonna play it again. I think I got everything. Let us know if we're wrong. Definitely. Even if you want to make your own little video, definitely send it our way. I'd totally love to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
The only other thing I'll say is, guess what?
What?
Guess what's going to be made into a movie?
Oxenfree?
Yep.
Oh my god, I was just pulling that out of my ass. I didn't.
Oxenfree is going to be a movie. Guess who? Guess whose company?
Why?
Is making it?
Whose?
Robert Kirkman, Walking Dead guy.
Why?
Skybound Entertainment is going to create a movie based on Oxenfree, and I think they're working on comics and a bunch of other shit as well. Interesting. Maybe?
I mean, yeah, it's interesting. Does that mean that we don't need to watch it because we already played it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a direct translation of the game into a film. I would hope that it isn't, because too many. Yeah, it's just like, why would I watch it then? But then again, it's better than doing something awful, which is like what some movies do. Wink, wink, Resident Evil.
Wink, wink, Silent Hill.
Hey.
That second movie?
Yeah. Oh my god. And the second movie, the Silent Hill Revelations 3D, please say the full name.
Oh, sorry.
Or Shred is what we say.
Really?
That's what I say.
Oh.
Because it's Silent Hill Revelations 3D. You take the 3 and turn it into an E, it's Shred.
That's cool.
Yeah, I'm cool. And that game was trying to mimic Silent Hill 3 to a T. So much so that it completely negated the part of the plot of the first movie. And at the very beginning, it was like, that stuff that happened? Forget that. Don't worry about that. Worry about this. And it was weird and schizophrenic and strange, and I don't know. Anyway, and that was an example of a movie trying to be a game. So, and the first Silent Hill movie was an example of a movie that was not trying to be the game. It was trying to take the visual aesthetic and some of the, obviously Pyramid Head and stuff like that, and weave it into a story that is unique to the format, rather than just regurgitating the same shit that you've already played. So I don't know. I don't even know if it's going to be animated. All I know is that they are working on an Oxenfree movie. So, interesting. Yep.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Anything else?
No, you would recommend it.
I would.
I would recommend it at a lower price, just for a 4-hour game where you do a lot of walking and just listen to people talk. I'm not feeling the $20 price.
Okay. You feel, and probably after a patch, you probably feel more better with $10.
Yeah, I would do $10.
Hey, it's on Steam. I'm sure that as soon as we put this podcast out, it's going to be on sale.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. Okay, well, thanks for listening.
Yep.
We'll be coming back next week, and for the month of February, we are going to appreciate Black History Month by celebrating some horror video games with black protagonists.
Yes.
Join us next week.
Yeah, join us next week. Or, yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
That's for them, not you.
Fuck.